Life of Death by Nightmare Darkness. Read by Deathlight. Chapter 4. Death, Convict, and Demons. The energy in the room was so thick you could cut it with my scythe. I saw a group of ponies granite face as they stared into the eyes of Berry Green. Walking through the wall, I got a better look at the pony I was about to end. Clean-shaved, lime green coat with a blue cropped mane. He seemed calm. The police stallion raised a clipboard and quickly flicked a switch, letting the speakers in the room hum as it began to speak. Berry Green, you are sentenced to death for 6 counts of kidnapping, molestation, and murder of Natty Leaf, age 16, Carrot Smash, age 14, Venice Drop, age 14, Grape Juice, age 13, Flicker Care, age 12, and Wing Whip, age 10. Oh, and the counts you pleaded innocent but were proven guilty in the court of law. How do you plead now? He asked, his loving obvious as the families of the deceased looked at him through the window with eyes of anger mixed with despair at the sight of their children's murderer. I was slightly horrified, but not as much as I would guess other ponies were. I had dealt with ponies like this before. It was rare, but it usually had more wealthy customers. I frowned at how calm he was. Something flickered in me as he simply smiled. You're killing an innocent pony. I have never done anything wrong, he said simply. Two stallions yelled angrily in protest as he coldly chuckled. I looked down at him closely now. Images of silver-young fillies staring into my eyes with fear and horror as I maliciously damaged them. I shook my head and my body shuddered. He was evil. I stepped in between him and the glass. Maybe it was those who were closer to death who could see me, but this pony did not. I groaned disappointedly. Since you have nothing important to say, the police stallion said as he lifted his hoof, placing it on the switch. May Celestia forgive you for your sins. We know we cannot, he said as he flipped the switch. I'd like to say watching a body get 50,000 volts of electricity pumped through it is not very pleasing sight or smell. His calm demeanor and smug look of sophistication vanished, replaced by bulging eyes, convulsing, and clenched teeth as he foamed at the mouth. He lasted only 12.3 seconds as I lifted my scythe, placing it on his forehead. I pulled his soul away and landed beside me. He blinked and looked at his body. Oh, would you look at that? Well, it was fun while it lasted. He looked up at me and smiled as his ghostly body began to morph into something demonic. He began to chuckle as I stepped back, not knowing what to do. Then it occurred to me. The book! I quickly lifted the book, and it simply went to the page with the information I automatically wanted. Ghostly demonic transformation. If you find yourself being the company of a murderer / convict / or whatever uncouth fellow, they may begin to transform after you reap them. Now try to stay calm and just wait for the cleanup crew. In the meantime, enjoy these illustrations of manifestations of different GEDs. Ghostly demonic transformations. I frowned and looked up at him as he looked up at me, deadpanned. So the grim pony is real. I bet you like me. It's ponies like me that keep your business running. He chuckled. I frowned.
I have enough business without butt jobs like you.
I cursed. He cocked his head into question as he began to step towards me. Every fiber of me wanted to step back, but that's what he would have wanted. I wonder if I can kill death, he asked questioningly. I felt my heart race, but I stayed calm. I would. Before I could continue, time in the room seemed to stop, and the heat increased dramatically. I looked around in confusion, as he did. 2 crevices opened up suddenly on either side of Berry Punch. Well, what's going on? His voice was shrill, full of newly found panic. The cleanup crew? I asked myself aloud. He looked up at me, and 2 large stallions, who were as big as Celestia, roared as they escaped their fiery crevices. They looked down at Barry, whose ears were flattened against the side of his head as he cowered between the 2. The one on the left stamped on the ground, startling me and making Barry run. He didn't care where, but he was trying to get away. The one stallion looked to the other and smiled, as the other replied in kind. With a stump of his hoof, the stallion on the right called twin chains out from the ground. They raced towards Barry and caught him by his back legs. They latched like coiling snakes, not letting go. With his second stomp, spikes protruded out and stabbed his legs, making him scream in pain. He was dragged slowly towards the flaming hole, and soon he was swallowed up and silenced, as the floor closed up over him. I stood there, jaw hanging, and with no words. A simple thought occurred to me. That could have been me. The 2 demon stallions turned their attention on me. I recovered quickly and lifted my scythe in a warning. The stallion on the right hissed aggressively at me as he dove into the ground, disappearing. The other one, though, smiled cockily. "You're the new death. How cute." His voice was smooth, yet stern. I felt myself blush, only for a moment, and thanked Celestia for the black hood that hid all my emotions. "You're done. It's time for you to leave," I said in the sternest voice I could muster. He raised his eyebrow. "I would, but I've been asked if I can get you to visit with, visit isn't exactly the best term. Lucifer has asked for an audience with you, and I'm to escort you through Hades safely," he said matter-of-factly. "Can I do that?" "I'm afraid I'm busy at the moment," I said, placing my scythe on the floor, firmly making a thud. He flinched. I don't know why, but he took a deep breath and sighed. I walked over to a door, unlocked it, and saw Apostrophe look up to see the demon pony. She smiled and waved, and he waved back. I looked over at her. "Who is he?" I asked. Apostrophe chuckled. "Fire pleaser," he interjected. I looked over my shoulder, pulling back my hood. Looking at him, half-lidded, Apostrophe chuckled. "He collects the evil or bad souls from this plane and takes them back. You'll bump into him every now and again," she explained. "Then who crosses the good ones over?" I asked, ignoring Fire Pleaser. "Oh, well, you do," she said. I guess that made me like an angel, but I would keep that to myself. "I can't see Lucifer right now. I'm much too busy," I said, beginning to look at my scroll again. "You can go. There's no passing deaths at the moment. Besides, it's good to meet your coworkers," Apostrophe said. Fire Pleaser smiled triumphantly. "Truth be, I didn't want to go to Hades. I'd rather avoid it at all costs. But it seemed unavoidable." I replaced my hood and turned towards him, as he stomped on the ground, making it break open. A staircase formed, going down into the glowing depths. He began to walk, and I looked back at Apostrophe, who waved, and the door began to close by itself, leaving me alone with the demon. The walk was uneventful, simple stone walls, and the sound of our hooves striking the stone. He turned to me. "So you're a mayor?" he began. Truth be told, I didn't want to engage with him in conversation. "Yes, I seem to be," I said, but my voice sounded hollow, as if it didn't belong to me. I guess it was another gift granted by the Grobe. "You know, it's funny, because most of the time the Grim Reaper is a male," he said and smirked. I simply didn't answer. "Not that there's anything wrong with a mare being death. I think it suits you, really." He chuckled. I glared at him, and I hoped he would understand that I was angry at the last comment. He didn't seem to be fazed, but he seemed to get the hint. I began to feel the heat in the tunnel rise, as the light began to glow more intensely. We proceeded underneath an arch, and the landscape that unfolded before me was both breathtaking and terrifying. The screams of ponies being tortured for the sins unknown to me. The bell in my throat began to rise as I saw one demon begin to cut into a pony who was strapped down. I looked away as I heard a cry in pain. Fire Pleaser looked down at me and smiled cruelly. "What a sight, huh? He's being tortured for the murder of 3 and the molestation of 1, he explained. It made me feel a little better, but I still felt sick. We rounded a stone pillar in a large stone fortress, with a flying buttress dominated my vision. Proceeding to the front gate, 2 imposing guards looked at me and shifted uneasily as they opened the doors. Walking into the castle, I was shown something I did not expect. Sure, one would assume that the inside of the castle of Lucifer would have skeletons of ponies, rotting corpses, and ponies being tortured. But it's completely the opposite. Ponies were walking to and fro with papers in hoof, ponies taking calls. It looked like a legitimate business, which I'm sorry to admit I was impressed with. Fire Pleaser got looks from mares. There were swoons and smiles. He simply smiled back and waved kindly. Walking up to an office door that was labeled Lucifer CEO, Fire was about to open the door but stopped short as a loud booming voice that could be heard from the other side.
What do you mean the shipment isn't here? Are those souls to be moved over the pain fields? How could they just disappear?"
The voice paused for a moment.
"Oh, you better hope you find them or else you'll be a member of those tortured souls."
There was a loud slam of him hanging up. Fire knocked on the door.
"What?"
Came an angry roar. "Sir, it's Fire. Here with death," he said cautiously. There was a pause.
"Come in,"
he ordered. Fire proceeded through first, followed by me. No, I should say when I was a filly. When I heard the name Lucifer, it conjured up the images of scary, dangerous, and evil stallions, like Namor Moon, only burning red with fangs, horns, smoke, pain, damnation. But, whatever I saw, sitting behind an oak desk, there was a black-coated stallion, with a flowing mane that mimicked the flow of fire. I had only seen Celestial and Luna from afar, but the manes moved as if they were alive with magic. He was very similar, only his horn was longer, and his wings were like a bat's. He was an alicorn, and he looked at me. Oh, Celestia, his eyes! They were as red as rubies, and his smile seemed forced, but it still made my heart leap into my throat.
I'm sorry I had to hear that. I'm having some troubles around here.
Fire nodded curtly and left closing the door. Okay, now I was alone with the amazingly attractive owner of Hades.
Grapevine, I had a good lineup for you.
He said, looking at the file. All my feelings of attraction were dampened. I nodded and pulled back my hood. Well, it's nice to meet you, Lucifer, I said. He chuckled and sighed.
Celestia allowed me to greet you. It's not often we'll meet each other, but I have a favor to ask you while you're on the job. There has been a slight disturbance in Hades. Souls have been disappearing, and I'm worried about the effect they may have. So while you're on the job, keep your eyes peeled for anything odd.
He said, standing up, walking towards me. His height towered over me. What else could I do? I nodded.
Good. I think Celestia also wishes to speak to you about the same thing. I think your next soul is needed to be collected, and it's a big order it seems.
He said and smiled slightly. I looked more at him. He had bags under his beautiful eyes, and well, he looked fatigued. You look like you could use some rest. I blurted out and realized it was too late in what I said. He raised an eyebrow and smiled.
You're nice, mate, for sure, but my job has so much that needs to be done. I, unlike Celestia, have a very busy job.
He said with a hint of sarcasm. I nodded, went to his door, lifted the key, and then I looked at the scroll. Visa Nui, 34, starvation. Bre Nui, 13, starvation. Meza Nui, 10, starvation. I looked at it again and frowned. How does everybody die of starvation? I thought. Putting my key into the door, I opened it and found myself walking into a dark-lit town where bug-like creatures laid about, tired and famished. My eyes became pinpricks. These were changelings. Hello everybody, I'm kind of sorry for the quality of this one here, but it's mostly because of my family. They were being really loud when I was recording, so I was trying to cut them out, but I ended up moving a lot of the bass line of my voice, in case you couldn't tell, me sounding hollow almost all the time like I had a $20 mic. So yeah, I don't know how to fix that except for soundproofing my whole entire room, and I don't think I can do that. That just would cost too much. So I could always somehow get him out of the house, but that'd be a pain in the ass too. So anyways, this chapter here, she gets to meet a bit more of what's going on in the world, like what happens to criminals and stuff, which is pretty cool. We'll go down to Hades, and there's apparently like also ponies that do exactly what she does, except it's for the evil. And I would have to also assume that there's gonna be griffins and also different races for that, but that's what I assumed until like until the very end of this chapter here, where she was apparently gonna be reaping some changelings. So I guess is she the reaper for all the races, or just pony-like races? That's what I want to know myself. So yeah. And also, apparently, Lucifer, really nice looking on the eyes. I don't know. Yeah, just a weird thing. But anyways, I meant to get this all recorded on Saturday, but I ended up doing it on Sunday night at about 7. And that's just because I got really bored and tired Saturday. Well, I spent 10 hours in a thing, and I'll show you a picture for that and how bored I got. I got a freaking picture I drew up. It's great. You're gonna love it. So yeah, see ya.